The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone. This is Vanish from WSI ALM. Welcome to yet another edition of our LaunchPad webinar series. Armando's having some technical challenges, so he's just going to be signing on in a sec, but I figured we'd get started and share some news with you that's been happening all across the previous week and has the internet marketing circles abuzz. Interesting. I mean, this week's news is a mix of our favorite person, Matt Cutts, of course. He's always got something to say to us, and the good thing is that he's starting to get very transparent. Like he's never been so open and publicly acknowledging some of the best practices as far as search engine optimization is concerned, and just coming out in the open about how to basically play by Google's rules. And he's been pretty transparent over the past, I'd say, 4 or 5 months, which is really helping the industry try and understand Google's rules better and playing by the rules. Great. So we have obviously him in the news, plus we got a couple of other news items that we'd like to share with you. And then Armando's going to take you through a really interesting local case study. It's a local client that we have, and we've been able to generate some good results for this client. So Armando's going to be sharing that case study with you. And then I have a nifty little tool that I want to share with everybody for this week. It's a really cool tool. It's a search engine a description emulator, so it actually shows you how your listing actually looks on the search engines without you actually putting your listing out there. So it's kind of like a little simulator tool that's pretty neat. So we'd be sharing that with you, and then of course we'll have our Q&A in the end. So if you have any questions, feel free to put that in the chat box towards your right at any point in time during the webinar, and then we'll be addressing all the questions at the end of the webinar. Okay, terrific. So let's get started here. So the first news of the week is, and this is especially concerning for any of the European ICs that have signed on for this webinar today. Google's crackdown against a link network called Buzziest. And what Buzziest was basically sort of like an article or content aggregator network. But really what they were also doing was that through this whole syndication of blogs, syndication of content, they were also putting out links. And these were sponsored articles, so basically they were paid links, in other words. So you basically have a company coming onto their network, and they'd basically pay for their articles to get syndicated across Buzziest network, and they would compensate the bloggers or the sites that were syndicating in this network to put up the client's article or blog or what have you, whatever the content was. So basically it was compensation for links, and Google's very against that. So they came down hard on Buzziest, and they basically shut this network down, penalized them pretty heavily. And then here's, let's go to the official Buzziest website. Very unfortunate. I mean, you have a business and Google cracks down on you, and boom, that's it. Overnight you're out of business. So they are out of business, and they had the initial communication on the 29th of January, and then which went viral because it wasn't very polite. They had some pretty interesting things to say about Google, and then this is the next follow-up press release that they took out to the first one that they put out. They're mentioning, following the announcement of Matt Cutts, our official reaction, humorous, not gone unnoticed on various social media networks. They're getting a lot of messages of support. Their page rank has been decreased to 0, so they're obviously pretty deeply disturbed and shocked about that. This action by Google has destroyed a significant source of income for thousands of bloggers. This original post is actually in French, so I translated the page, so we're reading it in English. Has destroyed a significant source of income for thousands of bloggers, including those who have never worked with us. Very critical. I mean, very critical of Google and why they basically went against them. But again, the bottom line is, you go against Google, they can do whatever they want. It's a search engine. For SEO, you don't necessarily pay them, right? PPC is a different matter altogether. But when you're doing search engine optimization, you definitely have to be careful, play by the rules, don't engage in any sort of like paid links, any sponsored links. If you are doing sponsored content or sponsored articles on the internet, make sure that it's a no follow so that you're not going to get in any trouble, and Google potentially saying that you're going after paid links. And what's very important is to be like, I mean, if you're doing it on the small scale, I mean, look, you can definitely fly under the radar and it won't be an issue. But when you start associating it with yourself or your website or your client's website with a larger or bigger network where this stuff is being done on a pretty big and a massive scale, where it does make sense for Google to get involved and Google to take attention and then penalize that network so that millions of sites that have been associated with that also get penalized simultaneously, that's where you have to be careful. So, if something's very popular, just because there's a lot of people doing it, doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do. And that's exactly what you have to be careful about, because that's the first thing Google's going to go after. The more popular, the more they're watching it, like carefully, because that's tainting their search engine results. They haven't necessarily lost any market share, Google. In 2013, in our last LaunchPad edition, we actually saw that they gained a little bit of market share, like around 1% from 66. I believe they went up to 67% of market share in the US. So they've gone up, so they're not necessarily concerned that the quality of the results is going down, or that's going to basically have searchers leave them and then go to Bing for better quality of searches, but they're being very proactive when it comes to taking care of their results, and they want to make sure that they have the best results when it comes to SEO. And of course, I mean, there's a whole conspiracy theory that all of this is being done so as to make SEO tougher, so that they can actually push their PPC a lot more and make us go more towards paid advertising. All right, so this is the first news of the week. We basically have this link network taken down, France's Buzziest network. Moving on, so the other news item which was kind of interesting was Yahoo adding a local business snapshots next to the search results. So it's a little confusing in the screenshot here, but there's actually two screenshots that we put together. The first one is on the left-hand side. As you can see, we've done a search for Seattle restaurants, and then this is the Yahoo local listings that are coming up, right? And then you get the map, you get the refined further, and you get the ads on the right-hand side. Then come to the second screenshot on the right-hand side, where we've actually clicked on the Wild Ginger Asian restaurant to try and see as to what comes up. So when you actually click on Wild Ginger, what's coming up is this whole pop-up on the right-hand side that comes up that actually shows you some pictures of the location, shows you a map of that location so you can zoom in, gives you all the information as far as that location is concerned, the directions, the menu, the reservations, the hours, categories, etc., etc. So they've kind of they've changed the local business snapshots. It's kind of looking like this now, and a lot of you must be going like, that looks very, very similar to Google. Well, it does, because it is, and no surprise to that, because let's keep in mind who's the CEO at Yahoo. It's Marissa Mayer. Where was she before Yahoo? She was at Google. So a lot of the stuff that's been working for Google, pretty sure that Marissa Mayer is going to pass that information on and refine Yahoo so as to incorporate a lot more best practices in terms of what's working across the board. And this is one such example where the Yahoo local listings are kind of looking like Google's now more and more. Great. So as I mentioned to you, the Matt Cutts was definitely in the news again, and there was a question that was posed to him last week, which was, look, are links from relevant content sites bad? Like, are we talking specific article directories? Like this person had a very specific example. She said that I have a beauty website, and there's a cosmetic surgery article on eZine articles, and then I've put my link up there and I'm getting a genuine link from there. Is that bad? So very straight up question, and putting eZine articles in sort of like front and center as far as this example is concerned. What was Matt Cutts' answer? No. Do not try and build links through article directories, and that's pretty much what his straight answer was. Now, this has been a gray area for a very long time. Article directories were a very popular way of link building, and this is information for the ICs that are relatively new in the network. I would say back in like 2007 to 2010, article directories were very popular. You had tons of article directories. You could take an article, spin it, come up with different versions of the article, and then just dump it into all these different sites and generate tons of backlinks to your website. Almost overnight you'd be getting 5,000-10,000 backlinks pointing back to you. So and what was basically happening was that, again, just like any other tactic, just like guest blogging, and Matt Cutts came down on guest blogging, as we heard in our previous webinar, the industry starts to abuse all these different tactics. And the article directory tactic was so abused, where you started getting results on Google that just didn't make sense. You'd go to one of the article directories, you'd click on it, it'd be a bunch of nonsense on that page with a whole bunch of AdSense ads all over on that page, essentially set up with the purpose of making money. And finally, I mean, it came to a stage where it just was not a very good way of building links. And we realized this at WSI ALM about 6 or 7 months back, because it was a gray area. It was coming under a lot of discussion. There was a lot of debate going on with regards to article directories, and we took a stance where we stopped doing article directory submissions about 6 or 7 months back. So in our packages, in our SEO packages, we definitely write content, we build content, we add it to the site, but we do not syndicate that content into article directories. Glad that we're in line with what Matt Cutts is finally saying, which is like, don't build links through article directories. It's artificial. It looks bad for your link profile, so don't do that. So this is something that everybody should be very careful about. If you're trying to link up to high-quality article sites, okay, great, that's fine. Like, if you're trying for the likes of a WebMD, About, Mashable, TechCrunch, if you're going after the Huffington Post, if you're going after like high-quality sites, terrific. But if you ever have a doubt on the quality of a particular directory that you are associating your site or your client's website with, do add a nofollow, so that this way any links that are pointing back to your website from that particular article directory or that particular website are not being counted towards your website's backlink profile. So that nofollow is very, very important. This way you're not associating your website with that, but you're still deriving all the other benefit that comes out of syndicating your article on popular sites. Like, I mean, Reddit, Dig, Delicious, all these sites are great. It's good to put your article out there, because you're not just doing it for link building. You're also doing it for traffic. You're also doing it to enhance your brand reputation. So do it for all these different reasons. Just don't do it for links. And that was Matt Cutts' message, even when it came to guest blogs as well. Go ahead and do guest blogging, but don't do it for building links. Make sure there's a nofollow, so that that is not being associated with your backlink profile, but you can still enjoy the benefit that accrues with guest blog posting, which is, industry exposure, recognition, more traffic for your website, you being recognized as an expert in your field, etc., all those other benefits that basically come out of it. Great. So this was something interesting, and again, a lot of discussion in the industry about this comment from Matt Cutts with regards to article directories. So we came across a very interesting article that was put up on Search Engine Watch, and we thought we'd share this with everybody. And it's such a cool article. I mean, this thing should definitely just shoot right at the top as far as like the best articles for 2014 are concerned, and we're only in February right now. So a lot of the times we have this challenge where it's like, look, we've put out fresh content on our website, but Google's not coming in and crawling it. It's not indexing it. And that's a very common problem that a lot of the websites have, where they'll write fresh content, they'll put it up there, and it's not getting indexed. It's a month, 2 months, 3 months, and the content's just not getting indexed in Google. So there's various tactics that the SEO industry uses and the webmasters use so as to get Google to try and fetch that content faster and get it indexed in Google. And these tactics, the most common ones include the tactic of generating a fresh sitemap. So once you've set up new content in your website, you generate a fresh sitemap, and then you go in and submit that sitemap to Google once again, that updated sitemap with your new pages. So you can either do it through Google Webmaster Tools directly, and then you put in your sitemap. Sorry, I think that was Armando trying to connect. anyways, so basically you try and so there's various different ways that you can actually index your content. And as I mentioned, the most popular way is to refresh your sitemap, set up a new sitemap with the new pages, and then submit it on Google. That's the most common method. Now, there's a much more simpler method, and this individual identified that in his blog post for everybody's attention. And it's such a cool feature, yet it's not very popular. Not a lot of people know about it, or they just don't use it. You can actually get your content indexed right away, pretty much right away, with using Google Webmaster Tools and this particular technique that that the writer showed us. So when you log into your Google Webmaster Tools console, and we'd given a demo a couple of months back on one of our LaunchPad webinars, there's a tab which is known as a crawl tab on the left-hand side in your Webmaster Tools console. And under your crawls tab, there's a link that says Fetches Google. So what you need to do is you basically need to click on Fetches Google, okay? And it's going to basically bring you to this particular page where it shows you how many fetches are remaining. So there's a limit on how many pages you can actually submit, and the URL and the link submissions are remaining, and then your website and that particular page that you want indexed on your website. So if you move on, so in this case, you know, the guy's set up a page, a sub-page called WordPress under his website, which is optimizehere.co/WordPress, right? And then you put that in, and then what you do is you click Fetch. Once you click Fetch, you'll basically get a message like this in your next screen which says Googlebot type, which is web, fetch status, which is success, so you'll get success. And then right next to that, if that is not in Google's index, you'd actually be getting an icon that says submit to Google's index. And then there's a further box that comes up. It says submit. When you click on it, you'll get this pop-up. It says submit URL to index, submit the following to Google index. And that's your URL. That is a new one that has not been indexed by Google. And then you click on the URL, or you have a second option to click on URL and all link pages. And after that, you just hit OK. And that's it. As soon as you do this activity, submit to index, click OK, the authors saw their page getting indexed in less than 5 minutes. Now Google does officially say it takes about an hour or a couple of hours or 3 hours in order for your page to get indexed, but the author actually saw this particular page getting indexed in literally 5 minutes and appearing in Google's search results. And this was this is interesting because the author had received a call from a client who was very frustrated that this page was not getting indexed by Google, and they'd been waiting for a couple of months in order for this page to get indexed, and Google just did not seem to be indexing this page. And by doing this whole tactic, this whole activity of going through your Webmaster Tools and then submitting it to the index through the Webmaster Tools console, expedites this whole process in a huge way. And we're actually making this pretty much a formalized process at WSI ALM. So whenever we actually add more content on a client's website, we go in, fetch as Googlebot, submit to the index, so that this way it's getting indexed right away in Google. So the process, once again, just for everybody's information's sake, log into your Webmaster Tools console. There's a crawl tab on the left-hand side. Click on Fetch as Google. All right, once you put in your URL, go down. So click on Fetch. Once you click on Fetch, you'll basically get a success or a failure. If the page is set up incorrectly and for whatever reason the Googlebot is not able to crawl your website or that particular page, it's going to give you an error. But otherwise, in all practical purposes, if the page is set up properly, you'll be getting a success message, and then all you need to do is right next to it, hit submit to index. Boom. Hit that, and then your page gets indexed in Google right away. So this is a pretty cool article that this guy came up with, and this is a challenge, you know, for a lot of the ICs, you know, for a lot of the clients where their pages are not getting indexed, and here's now a way to actually get it done relatively quickly. Great. So moving on, Moz, which is Rand Fishkin's company. So Moz conducts an industry survey every year at the beginning of the year, so as to get everybody's input, everybody's feedback in the industry on salaries. That's one. And then the second survey that they do is with regards to the popularity of tools. So for the sake of time, I did not include the salary survey, but you can definitely check it out on the official Moz website where they've done a full sort of a survey there. And there's some more interesting information, in terms of where are the marketers spending the most amount of time on. And just for everybody's information, conversion was right at the top. Conversion optimization was right at the top for a lot of the marketers. Now, what was interesting for us was the part that actually talks about what tools are the most popular tools in the industry that everybody's using. So they came up with a top 10 list. No surprise, Google Webmaster Tools is literally shot up to the top because it's getting so powerful. The team in the back end of Google is just coming up with such amazing features on the Webmaster Tools console so as to make it so useful. And it's kind of like a direct connection with Google. Because of so many changes, I think we'd probably do another session on Webmaster Tools in the coming weeks so that we can give a demo once again, because there's a lot that's changed. There's so many new features that have been introduced in the Webmaster Tools console. So we'll do another session on this. So the Webmaster Tools is number 1. The Moz toolset was number 2. We are huge fans of Moz's toolset. We subscribe to it, so we have access to the Open Site Explorer. We have access to the on-page grader that Moz provides. Excellent tools. They even have like a crawler, so you can submit your website as a campaign, and then it crawls your entire website. And as a matter of fact, just yesterday we crawled one of our sites because we were having a challenge in ranking it, and what the crawler discovered was that there's a lot of duplicate pages that were not being picked up by Webmaster Tools, which was very interesting. But the Moz crawler picked it up, and it even showed us what these duplicate pages were. So we had 3 or 4 different versions of the same page which were hampering the main page from ranking, and that was escalated to the client, and now we are basically getting it fixed up. But here's a situation where Google Webmaster Tools did not catch an issue, but Moz did. So very cool tool set. The third most popular tool was Open Site Explorer, which is a great tool to check backlinks for a particular website. And I'd also like to make a mention for GShift, because GShift has a link builder tool in its console as well, which is also quite powerful. We use that quite extensively as well, along with Open Site Explorer. Majestic and Screaming Frog, which are very popular with the ICs, were 4 and 5. Bing Webmaster Tools console is gaining prominence as well, just because they're trying to enhance that and make it more powerful. And again, Bing has close to 20% of the market share, so let's not eliminate the search engine. It's getting more and more important. Yoast was 7. SEMrush, again, we use SEMrush at WSI ALM very extensively. Fantastic tool for PPC research, for organic research on your competitors. Really good tool, and they've enhanced it so you can actually see rankings in, I think, about 25 different countries now. And then the 9th spot and the 10th spot went to Ahrefs and Firebug, respectively. So these are the 10 most popular tools that the industry is using out there, and it's good to be aligned with the industry, see what tools they're using, and ensure that we are also using this so that we are always staying ahead of the game for our clients. Excellent. So at this stage, I believe Armando is logged in. I'm going to pass it on to Armando. Yep, I think he is logged in. I'm going to pass it on to Armando, and he's going to discuss a local case study for us. Over to you, Armando.
Thank you, Anish. Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Just experienced a bit of technical issues this morning, but I'm here. Definitely wanted to spend some time with another local SEO case study, and I will tell you that next week we're going to have a more robust case study, an e-commerce one, but I wanted to share this very specific local SEO case studies for a number of reasons. One of the reasons is that this company is Mail & More, is based out of South Carolina, and they were looking to do some SEO. They wanted to expand their business. We had the opportunity to work directly in this case scenario with the owner of the business, and it is a business, as you know, that's also very seasonal, and during the holidays, obviously they took advantage of, because they also not only do they provide office supplies, they also do shipping services. So when the client approached us to help him with his SEO strategy, at first he was very, very weary about it. The client profile, he wasn't, although he believed in the power of internet marketing, he was very weary of who he wanted to work with. He had been burned by a previous SEO company, so there was a lot of lack of trust. And we pretty much, what we had to do in this scenario was really demystify SEO. He had a lot of different preconceived ideas about how SEO works. One of the things that had happened was, what Vinish had mentioned, backlinking in article directories and spammy pages, etc. So he had been burnt in the past, not necessarily with this website, but with other projects he'd been working on. So he was very weary about us working with him, or about the results. So what we did was we started him with a local SEO program. Let's start him small. Let's get him, let's turn him around. Let's make him a believer. And we focused mainly in Charleston, South Carolina. We did a lot of education, a bit of hand-holding. And I know some of the ICs sometimes may say, well, you know what, I have to choose my clients because the amount of time that I'm spending with a small business may not yield results in regards to my ROI, the time that I spend with them. So you do definitely have to qualify. We knew in this case scenario that the client, he just needed to see a bit of results to truly believe in our work. He did believe in SEO and internet marketing, just that he was very weary. So through a lot of education and developing a relationship with the client, we were able to start working on his site. Did a bit of content writing. We kind of worked on a few very elements of conversion optimization that he had on the site. We definitely did local citations and clean link building, right? Again, we didn't just grab articles and started putting them on local directories. We used our strategic link building approach, and that has actually started to work. And we saw some really good results. Vinish, if you can go to the next slide, thank you. In last year, during the holiday season, where his organic Google rankings increased by 82%. Now, you may say, well, it's only 62 to 113. You have to understand that the type of traffic that we were generating for this client, given the type of client, was very, very fine, very fine-tuned. So even this was very targeted traffic that we were doing for the client. And apart from seeing an increase during the season, Thanksgiving season, and also in Christmas season, he started to really see that we were the company for him. In addition, unique visitors jumped up 72%. He was pretty happy about that. He was also happy about the fact that we were able to overall help him with his Bing traffic. Some clients, when you probably meet with them, they focus a lot on Google, but other clients, they also want to know about Bing. So I wasn't able to put the screenshot here, but I know that he saw some effort on Bing. He was very happy. At the end of the day, right now, we are at the end of January, and we're working with them on a more robust SEO package and beginning a social media plan. Now, one of the key things to learn here is that sometimes you do have to do that hand-holding. I mean, this company, competes against the UPSs of the world, the FedExes of the world. They compete against Kinko's, etc. So, for a small business to put trust in any other consulting company or SEO consulting company, it's worth investing the time on them as well, and educating them. So now that we've seen some results, the client is more open-minded, and that's why we're kind of growing his account. So I kind of wanted to share this local SEO case study with you, with the different elements and also different results that we've shared with them. But that's pretty much Mail and More, and you know what? The client's happy. He's seen a lot of business. He's seen the fact that we put a lot of effort, and we're expanding his SEO and social media plan.
Terrific. Awesome. Thanks, Armando. One thing I did wanted to mention was that while this campaign was going on, we did experience a drop as far as the average visit duration for the visitors was concerned. It was a pretty dramatic drop. With the increase in organic traffic, we saw the visit duration go from 1:45 to under a minute, which is definitely concerning. And this is under our radar because this directly relates to how the website is and how the visitors are interacting with the website. Bear in mind the fact that you don't want to just jump in and tell the client, hey, it's your website, change it, with just such little data. I mean, it's only 113 visitors. So watch and monitor the stats, see how it's changing over the course of the next 2 or 3 months as far as the organic traffic is increasing for a client. Keep a close eye on that. And then once we have enough data and enough traffic that has been sent to the website is when we can make a determination and tell the client confidently saying, look, we've sent you about 700 targeted or 1,000 targeted visitors to your website, and your overall average visit duration is less than a minute. That seems to be an issue because your site's not sticky enough. It's not appealing enough to your target audience. They're bouncing in less than a minute. So there's some different ways and methods that you can actually make your site sticky. You can actually get your visitors to spend more time in your website. Add a resource center, add a blog, add some more collaborative info. Put up a little poll on your website so that when somebody's leaving your website, you can ask them a couple of questions on how their experience was and how you can make it better. So these are all things that you can do so as to enhance your visitor experience. But the idea is not to jump into a recommendation to a client, have enough data to back it up, keep these metrics under observation, and then once you have enough data, you can go ahead and give them more input and recommendations on these different areas.
Yeah, I just want to add to that, Venetian. That's a great point that you highlighted. Specifically with clients that their personality, it's very they're very analytical. They're not as open minded in the beginning. They're very they're a little bit closed. So it's very important that the way you position it, right? Because you don't want to alarm them. In this case, the client tends to be a little bit very particular about his content. He feels proud about the content that's there. So we've had to work with him. But you're definitely right. It's really about highlighting it in a positive way, or positioning it in a positive way, letting them know that, what, we're keeping an eye, we're tracking that, we're going to develop the data, we're going to research the data and review the data in 3 months, 6 months, and obviously, he'll start to see that changes are happening. Same thing happened with the bounce rate. His bounce rate is pretty high. It's been pretty high, and we've kind of talked to him a little bit about it. We got to do this, we got to do that. But don't. As a consultant, we're consulting, we're advising. I mean, obviously the client makes the changes, but eventually, we know that it's just a matter of time for a client to understand or to realize that changes have to be made in order for them to get better results. But definitely a good point. Thanks, Vinish.
All right, excellent. Great, thanks for that case study, Armando. Definitely excited about that e-commerce case study that you have lined up for us next week. All right, so moving on to the tool of the week. So as I mentioned, you have a very, very cool, a very nifty little tool that I wanted to showcase in this segment for this week, which is called the snippetoptimizer.net. So I'm actually going to take you to the Snippet Optimizer now. A very simple tool. Its URL is very simply snippetoptimizer.net. What it actually gives you, a preview of how your results going to appear in Google's organic results based on your URL, your title, and your description. And this is really good to get a sort of an idea, especially when you're doing the on-page optimization and you're doing the meta tags for a particular client offline. You want to try and see as to how this description, how this title tag, or how the URL is all going to gel together. How is it going to look before you actually put it out there on the website and then go ahead and submit it? So you want to get a preview of what the visitor is going to see without actually submitting it to Google and then really looking at it from Google's perspective. All you got to do is very simple. Just go in, put in, your website. So you put in your website here, and then you type in, so I'm just going to just put in a sample, right? Right, I'm just kind of putting that in there. Description, WSI ALM provides expertise. Sending a very, very strong branding meta message at the same time. Don't miss that. So it provides expertise of SEO, PPC, social media, and conversion rate optimization. Call us today at 1759. Right? So we just basically type this in, you type in the URL, you get the title, and you get the description as well, right? And now you can actually take a look and see how the Google snippet is going to be showcasing this. So when you look at this, you start discovering things, right? So for me, the first thing that I'm discovering is, you know what? If I actually capitalize CRO, it's gonna stand out better. So then I go here and I capitalize C, and I capitalize the R, and I capitalize the O, because it just kind of reads a lot better when somebody is coming to this listing in Google and he's going to look at this. I love the telephone number. It's great. But I also want to add in, let's say, an email. Call us today or email us at, now bear in mind it's got to be 150 characters, right? Email us at info@wsilm.com, right? So see, it's cutting it out there. So it actually does it for you. It cuts out the description about 150 characters, right? So Google's not going to see this. So so I need to adjust this a little bit. Obviously, I mean, this is not the best way to do it, but the whole idea is you can kind of start playing around with this, right? The URL is small. Let's say if I want to actually drive it to a targeted page, I can see that as well. So let's say if I have a landing page, so service offerings, right? And then I can see how that landing page is looking. If I want to capitalize anything on my title, in my title tag, I can do that. If I want to modify my description, I can do that. So this tool really gives you a very cool sort of a preview on what your results going to be looking like in Google without actually, as I mentioned, having to submit it in Google. Highly recommended, because when you actually do your meta tags and when you start doing your optimization using this tool or utilizing this tool, you'll start seeing and noticing things and start changing things in your description and your title tag so as to better entice the visitors. Because remember, when your visitors are browsing through the top 10 search listings of the first page in Google, and if it's a competitive vertical, everybody's going to be optimizing their meta tags. So the idea is for your meta tag to stand out so you get the click-through. That's really what's important. And the first thing is the ranking, which is important, and the second thing is the click-through. So whatever you can put in there, like for example, if it's an e-commerce website, call us today here, and I'd put in something like free shipping, limited, something like that, right? Free shipping, limited time. Like, you can actually utilize your descriptions even for like a call to action, so that this way you want to basically entice the people to click on your ad. So you have your description, you have your telephone number, you have your call to action, which is free shipping, and then you're also putting in the sense of urgency, limited time, right? So use your titles and your descriptions for strong, enticing strong call to action and making your listing stand out against your competitors when somebody's actually browsing through the first page. So it's very important when you're setting up your meta tags that you look at your competitors, see what their meta tags are like, and then you basically put out your meta tags accordingly. We posted a very, very interesting discussion on the title tag best practices, so I suggest you definitely check that out. It was posted out in Google Groups and also on K2 on what the best practices for title tags are. Very interesting discussion, so we put that out there for everybody. Excellent. So this was our tool of the week, a little bit about us and our service offerings, and then this is our contact information. I'm going to actually start taking questions now. So just pulling up our questions window here. So the first question's from Bob. Bob's question is, how does Yahoo Local Business Snapshot look like on a smartphone? Seems like the right-hand side would fit perfectly on mobile. That's probably one of the reasons why they did this change, Bob. And it's a good question. We'll take a screenshot of how it looks on a smartphone, probably send that out. But that's probably one of the reasons why they did it, because the information's just kind of fitting in perfectly in your screen. And you have all the information sort of like above the fold. So yeah, it would make sense for them to make it smartphone compatible. Bob has another question. Does the fetches Google fetches remaining count ever get recharged? Let me try and understand this. Does the fetches Google fetches remaining count ever get recharged? Oh yes, it definitely does. So there's a certain limited number of fetches that you have, Bob. So as you're fetching your pages, you just can't go unlimited and keep going. There is a fetch count that's associated with your website, and that's how many number of pages you can fetch. And yes, it does refresh. Patrick has a question with regards to the same query, I guess. Is there a limit on how many times you can use fetches Google on a URL page? I believe, Patrick, that it depends on your website. I do need to confirm that. It's a very good question in terms of if whether there's a standard limit when it comes to the number of fetches every website's allowed, or does it actually depend on the size of the website? So very good question. I'm actually writing it down myself so we get a confirmation on this. Khalid has a question on Yahoo Local. How do you register on Yahoo Local Business? And is it important to add your business in Yahoo as well? Khalid, there's a whole process to register your business in Yahoo, just like there's a process for Google and for Bing. You need to go to Yahoo Local, and over there's a whole process and a format on how you can submit your listing to Yahoo. Is it important? It definitely is. Google, Yahoo, and Bing are sort of like the foundation as far as local listings are concerned. So in order for your client to have a strong local presence, in addition to a lot of the other local citations they need to be having, Google, Yahoo, and Bing really are the foundation of a strong local campaign. So yes, it's definitely essential for your client to be added on to a Yahoo listing. And if you could shoot us an email at info@wsialm.com, we can give you more insight on how to submit your listing to Yahoo. Khalid has another question. For the case you showed us of SEO, which plan did you use for SEO, and what about the duration? So the plan that we used for this client was a local plan, a local package, because again, as Armando had mentioned, he wasn't a believer when it came to the SEO, and he'd been burnt before in the past. So we started off with a very sort of a small scale campaign, a local campaign, and have begun to show him traction. And the whole goal is to increase this campaign onto a foundational campaign. But what we started off was a very localized campaign because he wanted visitors from for his location in Charleston, in a very sort of a in a sort of a constricted area. Like he had a very sort of a targeted area that we wanted traffic from. So we started off with a local campaign. Allison has a question here. Maybe in this case they just want the phone number, the address, so they can mail their package, which would explain the decrease in visit duration. Very good point, Allison. That's right. And which is the reason why we mentioned the fact that you don't jump into conclusions, right? In the old adage, you jump into conclusions and the conclusions jump right back to you. But it's very important to collect enough data before you get to any sort of a decision-making process. And there was a really funny ad, and I'll see if we can play it in the LaunchPad webinar for next week. It was such a funny ad where basically there's a pet monkey who's let loose in a house, right? And there's a computer, a laptop, and there's a particular product. Like I think it was an ad for analytics, but there's like a shop, an e-commerce merchant store that's open, and the monkey just starts clicking on that one product like crazy. Like he just starts clicking on it like 100 times a second, and then the ad goes on to show what repercussions that has as far as the company is concerned. You know, an analytics guy is sitting in the back of his desk, all of a sudden starts seeing 500 orders being placed in, or like clicks coming into this particular product in like less than a minute. He senses something's going on. He alerts his production center. The production center alerts the shipping warehouse. The shipping warehouse alerts the back-end manufacturer so as to increase the quantity. And there's a whole chain reaction that happens because and the moral of the story was you made the decision so quickly without enough evidence, and it was actually just a little chimp that was just going away and pressing his buttons on that laptop, making getting that whole lift in traffic. So it's very important to have enough data to back up your recommendations for a client. Very important. Brian has a question regards to the telephone numbers. So is it okay to place telephone numbers in PPC ads that are not mobile? Yes, you can do that, Brian. You can also utilize like click-to-call features. So you can put in telephone numbers and then just ensure that there is a click-to-call option. So just press on the ad and they get connected to the telephone number right away. But yes, definitely recommended to put in your telephone numbers in the PPC ads. A lot of the times when click-to-call wasn't so popular with smartphones, we would still put in telephone numbers in ads, because what that would do is that it would actually save you some click costs, because people just look at your telephone number and then just call your number as opposed to clicking on your ad and then calling you up. They just search for you, especially a lot of the branded searches, right? Because they're just looking for your telephone number. So you put in a branded search, your ad comes up with the telephone number. That's all they're looking for. They get the phone number, they pick up the phone, and they call you, and then you just saved yourself a click over there. So definitely recommended to add in a telephone number. Excellent. I think that's all the questions that we have for this week. Terrific. Excellent. Great. Thanks everyone for joining us for this edition of LaunchPad. We'll be back with another exciting edition of LaunchPad next week with Armando's exciting case study as well. Do join us next week, Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Have a great week, everybody. Thank you.